What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Boxing Talk. Man, I just want to discuss a do of Mason and the Albert Bell fight. I might touch on a few other topics, but we'll see. But really focusing on that here. Shout out to the Sibs podcast coming back once that NFL season starts back around. But I'm gonna jump right into it. Jump right into the main event. Now, I missed the Scooter Davis fight and the Tiger Johnson fight. I did see the highlights of the Tiger Johnson fight. I still got to go back and actually watch all those, saw the highlights from that, watched the first two fights, and I came in around the sixth round on the Shushu fight. So can't really speak heavy to any of those. I know it's Shushu. I watched the thing from the sixth round on, and he was in control. I did see where the ref, the shot looked like to me to the back of the head, but he went down, wrote it a slip or a legal shot. I think more so to me. I know he was dipping down. And also the body shot that I think Play CEO, forgive me to say his name, but that he landed. I know Shushu still won, wasn't his best performance, but he was able to get the job done. I guess you can say compared to Shushu, Figueroa, who's the other champ? Boy, Figueroa, Shushu, Espinoza, and yeah, other champ Angelo Leo. Well, I've heard, I think it's more so like in the moment type comment that Bruce Carrington pretty much looks like food that he will lose some other champions. I know watching the fight in between, I forgot which round. I was looking at they had the camera on Shushu, and it did look like I don't know, like he wasn't all the way there. Cause it's like granted, I said I've never boxed, never been in a fight in a ring, and you have your coach just talking to you. But you can kind of tell when somebody's like locked in versus when somebody's like locked in versus not being all the way there. And that's kind of what I was seeing. I was like, I wonder why he still not an excuse. You still got to get the job done, even if it's not a fight that you necessarily want or you're not fighting a person that you want. But I still say Shushu is a game fighter. Just go back to the lab, get back focused. I know he really be wanting the big fights of whoever that may be. So hopefully he can get them between, like you have like Espinoza, Carrington, Leo, and Figueroa been the four champs. Like there needs to be some, if not this year, top of next year, we can start seeing some unifications between the four of these guys. I know Leo, I think he was supposed to fight Aleem his last fight, but Aleem missed weight, so that fight got called off. So Figueroa, I believe like Shushu can beat these guys like for real. You still got Nick Ball there, who's still I think a very game fighter. I know he got knocked out and got stopped by Figueroa. But this is a good division. So hopefully by if not the end of, not this year, next year, top in like January, we need to have something set in stone toward the end of this year, going into next year. It's like, hey, we're gonna have a kind of Espinoza and Carrington both for top ring. I think Leo's PBC, Figueroa, I believe is PBC. But let's get these unification fights going, I want to see the best fight, and the best is a good division, a very competitive division, especially if Nawe Inoue moves up. And even outside of the four champions right now, you still have good comp. And like I said, Nick Ball, Luis Alberto Lopez, Marco Suelo, Aleem is still there. I don't know if he gonna move up. You still got some good comp in there, but I really want some unification. So back to Shushu, no, I got him. I think I had him initially back in May at 9 on my pound for pound list. I gotta do some thinking. Gotta do some thinking about that joint. No, just gotta do some thinking. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Moving on from that fight, going to the main event, and I'm gonna start right here. I'm gonna start with the stoppage that occurred. Hold on. The early stoppage that was more so what I'm speaking on. Let me go to my page quick. I tweeted right when that happened because I know how boxing can get. when you have a close fight or something happens, like in the Tank Brooks fight, all the focus is on the ninth round, the knee, right? And that's what takes you almost taking the win out of the fight because we focus on that should have been a knockdown. He took a voluntary knee, and I don't disagree with that. But then that's where the whole story of the fight is around that when that's not even how the fight necessarily went. But it is true that was a pivotal moment. Same thing with this Abdullah Mason Albert Bill fight. Uh, I see tweeted like right during the fight ended. Great performance by Mr. Mason. Early stoppage by the ref, but that will not be the narrative of this fight. And I said, yeah, it was a very early stoppage. Maybe Albert was on his way out, but I was like, outside of that, it was a good fight. I'm gonna talk about these scorecards too, because that was another thing that I was like, ooh, snap! These scorecards, the official scorecards, was crazy. So me watching the fight from beginning to end, I had Albert Bill winning rounds 1 through 6. You could argue maybe 1-5, but still Albert Bill leading. From the seventh round to the 12th, I had Mason winning. So let's say, and this was before, let's say going to the 11th, going into the 12th, I had Mason winning 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This was before the knockdown in the 12th, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, so the knockdown coming to the 12th, yeah. So yeah, I had Mason winning. So if anything, let's say if they go to the cars, there's no knockdowns. To me, the fight should have been I would have considered that a draw. But now with boxing, I understand the champion, and I just do believe in saying that you have to take the belt away from the champ. It just can't be, oh, you know, you gotta take them belts away. I don't necessarily mean a TKO or KO, but like be decisive. And Albert Bill to me was decisive in them first 6 rounds. He was doing great work, controlling the pace of the fight, ring generalship. He was in control. The reason why I said maybe 1-5 in those first 6 rounds, 'cause I think I did like how Abdullah was using this jab in that first round. He did have some good jab work, not landing all of them, of course, but throwing it, it was a little bit more competitive. But like I said, that's why I said you can argue that or whatever round in this, the first 6 rounds you want to say. But Abdullah turned it on in that seventh, landing that straight left. A few times having Albert up against within those rounds from 7 to 12, up against the ropes or in the corner and landing that straight left. Good fight, very very good fight. And I will say about this fight, going back to the scorecards, when I look at those official ones, trying to read this. I'm not going to show it, but on Twitter I saw where they had reposted, I tweeted out the official scorecards from the main event, and I just reposted it on mine. So the first judge Martinez, kind of hard to read their first name, but I'm gonna say the last name Martinez. He had, I'm just going by like the first 6 rounds since I stated Bill won the first 6. He had it 1, 2. So he had Mason winning rounds 1 and 2, but then he had a 4-2 in the first 6 rounds. 4-2. Um, Second judge Marley, he had it. Dang, he had Mason winning the first 3 rounds. So he had it even 3-3. That's wild. Now I think I agree with all of them. Both of them also from round 7 to through the 11th. This before since it ended in the 12th. They had Mason winning all those rounds from 7 through 11, which I completely agree with. I think that's accurate. Last judge Rogers, he had it. He also had it 3-3. Yeah, I don't know how they had it 3-3, and he also had it the same thing from round 7 on. Had Mason. I will say this though, it depending on the fighter and the fights and the judges, and fans. I hear it kind of reminds me of the first Triple G versus Canelo fight, where people talk about being on the front foot, moving forward while the other opponent is moving back. I'm like, cool, that's what's up. And I agree with that. It looks good in the ring, but what are you landing as you're coming forward and the other person is going back, while you fall in the trap. So forget. Mm, I'm just focused on the person coming forward. What are you landing? Because there'd be fights where the guy's coming forward, but you're not really controlling the fight. You're not cutting off the ring. You're applying pressure to a guy, but you're not landing anything. So you're coming forward and doing nothing. There's time in other fights where guys coming forward, landing punches. You can see, I'm talking about landed face and body. You can see the punches being landed. Granted, watching everything on TV or even if you're there in person, you don't see every punch landed. Also, depending on where you're sitting when you're there live. But looking at that, I get tired when it's about the four. He was on the front foot the whole fight. That does not mean you won the fight. Yeah, you were on the front foot the whole night, getting caught, getting countered, getting hit, getting falling into traps. And so that's the thing I kind of get tired of when it comes to, I guess, people. You're watching at home, you can hear the commentators at the unofficial scorecard. That's why I mentioned GGG and Canelo, the first fight. GGG was on the front foot, Canelo was on that back foot. And in that fight, to me, close fight, regardless, you can say either way. I had it a draw or had a 7-5 Canelo. And that's what I initially, when I was watching it, that's how watched it. I have to go back and watch it again, see things differently as you spend more time this even just watching the sport, get alone, actually participating in the sport physically. Um, but they kept giving Gigi praise for him controlling the fight and coming forward, but he didn't go to the body. To me, he would have won the fight, maybe even stopped Canelo if he had went to the body. But a lot of that style of fighting, they don't consistently go to the body because he kept trying to throw a right hand, and every time Canelo got up against the ropes or close to it, he would weave out and exit out to the left, yeah, to the left every time, but no body work. But that's not the fight we're talking about. Just using that as an example of pressure, in my opinion. Yeah, you're coming forward, but not landing anything significant, anything of significance. Excuse me. Um, but maybe that's how they saw with these judges scoring this fight with Mason and Albert. Maybe they awarded some of these rounds, I don't think they should have in the first 6 rounds, to Mason. 4-2, I still find that to be lenient. I say 5-1. And that's like maybe between rounds 1 and 2, where you can argue. I have to go back and watch the fight. I said round 1. I could say Mason. You can argue round 1, but I had a 6 up for Albert. But like I say, Mason turned it on. Round 7, he landed. He landed some shots even in the first 6 rounds, but nothing consistent. But round 7, he came out, and of course, when round 12, he did his thing, getting that knockdown there, and then knocking him down again. Then you get the bad stoppage because Albert seemed to be aware, coherent, but the ref waved it off, which I thought was crazy. These refs been, slacking. I think since that Usyk fight, you've had this year, we had some stoppages. That's like even in the UFC 250 card at the White House, there was some stoppages. I was like, not the Pereira one. No, that was a good stoppage. I don't know, he complaining for no reason. But big shout out to Mason. Great fight, great performance. Great. What was it? Dabber. He did some nice things in there. He didn't have the steam on his punches in round 7 on. Good body work by Mason. Aggression was there, landing the big shots. Uh, Albert did do a good job of landing like the 2-1, the 1-2-1. Straight right hand was good. I just wish he had, I guess, more offensive repertoire to go with that. Maybe he does. It just didn't come out in this fight. Fight another grown man, throwing punches as well, another professional. So you're not gonna be able to always do what you want to do, but good fight overall. And I think this leading up into this fight, I was listening to like other boxing content, like Sean Zytel, Radio Raheem, and they gave their opinions on this fight and the challenges that Bell will present, and just saying can the young guy and Mason overcome those was like kind of the theme. And also with them being familiar with each other through sparring, both of them from Ohio, things like that, which can play a factor. But to me, he answered. He may not have been like the greatest performance of all time. He was down early. It was like, ooh, he got to step it up because he was down. He was Deontay Wilder down versus Luis Ortiz, like in that second fight especially. I think he got down this. Ooh, was it the 7th? but he was down, in my opinion. It wasn't no 4-2. It wasn't no 3-3. I don't know how you get 3-3 as far as these rounds from these judges, but he was down. Uh, but he answered the bell, no pun intended. He answered, and really showed up. Yeah, things he got to work on, young dude, but he's a tough out. He's a tough out for anybody at that 135, 140. I don't know what his ceiling will be because it's crazy. He has a 74, 75-inch reach. Boots has a 74-inch reach, according to what I've seen looking up the tele the tape. Um, so he has some measurables for this weight class 135 and 140 over other guys that can be a problem. So if he really works on fighting at a distance here and there, using his reach more, you can bang, you got power, you got good crazy pop, got power and all that stuff. You got good speed on your punches. Like you showed you have a chin. He been was down before. Fought Sam Noakes is like he's becoming like a complete fighter. So I'm liking what he's looking like. Of course, what Boots is looking like. It's like, hey, it's impressive. But switch gears because I did see a post talking about like potential what could be next for Abdullah Mason, as far as who to fight next, like Kid Austin, Morataya. What's that brother name? Boy, I gotta stop butchering these names, boy. Raymond Moratala. Um, all the champions. Let's see, because I don't think Shakur. Let me see. Shakur is no longer a champion. Let's see. So you got Floyd. I think got the WBA. Or I gotta go back and look at that. No, did they strip tank? I think they said champion at recess. So the WBC is vacant. The WBA. I'm just looking at ring right now. I thought Floyd, but it's saying it's vacant. WBO. That's Abdullah, and then the IBF should be Murtala, Raymond Murtala. So, and I still think Abdullah is a, you know, competitor at this class. I think he still can do some things, but so they both on top rank. Murtala and Mason, that could be a scrap. Schofield, man, they talk a lot. What a father that is. And, I think last saw it was Tevin Farmer, however long ago that was. But he's there, seen the sparring. I think Mason wipes him up. Just got, he is explosive, but he don't fight enough. But that'd be a good fight, good build up for sure. With Schofield Senior talking, I know Zapata and Roach fight. That should be for the vacant WBC, but maybe they're trying to hold that. I can't see that. That should be for the vacant WBC since they stripped Shakur. I believe it was that. Um, Andy Cruz supposed to be going back down to going down to 130 after this fight. He's supposed to have. Still got Sam Noakes. I think a rematch wouldn't hurt. That would have been about this. That would have been a good one. No, you got some comp out here in this weight class, man. Like for real. Like you got some at this weight class. You got Shakur is supposed to be still fighting at lightweight because he's not a true 40-pounder according to himself. Yeah, that's a whole nother story. But no, we to me, kind of like featherweight, not as similar to featherweight, where we start seeing some unifications, where I think Zapata and Roach should be for the WBC. Um, I think, both Raymond and Abdullah both were top ranked. Floyd Schofield, Metro maybe. I'm not sure who he or Golden Boy maybe. We got to get some unification. We got to get some of these fights going at this weight class. Williams Zapata, so you taking two as far as a resume. You fought Shakur, and then I think going back now you about to fight uh uh Lamont Roach. It's like resume looking good, So respect to him for that. Now, as I close out from looking at the lightweight division, we'll see what fights come up, see what's next for Abdullah. And his future is very bright. And I also would say about the fight, he had good foot feints, which I thought was really good. Him using those, using very early on. Or something I noticed while watching, which I like that he was doing. But we'll see what happens with the lightweight division as a whole. I think the Lamont Roach Zepeda fight would be good. I think that fight, to me, or who can win is 50-50. And we'll just see what happens because, man, I think Abdullah, he could run that division. I think Shakur is still a tough out for anybody at that weight class at 140. Just with the way he fights, being defensively responsible, he's a tough out. But if you can get up there, get him, hit him a few times, get him uncomfortable. We haven't seen that in the ring yet, but we'll see. But I think Abdullah can be up there. With how long he's at 35 at lightweight, or even at 40. Like I think Abdullah is the goods, even with things he still need to work on. But man, the future's bright for young Bull, like for real. But thank y'all for listening. Boxing Talk, episode 8. Shout out to Mr. Mason and the whole team. The other brothers that was fighting on the undercard as well. Like man, there's some tough young cats, man. I would not want to be in the ring with them, man. But look out for the next episode. I gotta see. Probably gonna do. I gotta do my pound for pound. I gotta update that. I gotta sit down, have some conversations with myself. But peace, y'all. Take care.